All right, good afternoon. My name is Cameron Irby. I will be your Lunch and Learn host today. I'm part of the support team at Decisions. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and come off mute and ask that question, or you can post that question in our Q&A chat. It looks like we got our first question. Is there a way to color columns on the report? When you say columns, like we're just talking about just like one column in the report, like a specific column.
Oh, just like a specific column. For example, if there's so I have like quantity in gallons and in barrels, and I want the barrels column to be like gray, like the whole column, so they can
Okay.
differentiate.
I'm not too sure, but I can find out really quick. Let me pop open a report.
I do have like documentation for the rows, but I couldn't find anything for the columns. So I'm not sure if there's anyone.
Yeah, and I'm not sure for columns. I know we do have the row documentation. But for columns, like I wonder if it's just part of that data field, like if there's a setting there. I'm gonna check really quick. Just gonna slide this here. So like if one of these data fields, the color rule. Let's create a dummy rule. Put a string. One second, this instance is not playing well with me today. Okay, let's try it again. But yeah, I'm pretty sure if we add this color rule here, a rule that'll always be set to true, then this rule will run each time. Yes, thank you, Jesus. So yeah, so if this rule runs true every time, then it'll add that color to this column or this data field. Let's just save that.
Quick question. You have the field has Boolean or just like a string in the input?
So for this, I just use a string like field exists. So if that data exists, then color that column.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, although it doesn't show. This instance is really laggy today. Yeah, I think if you set that up, you should get that working.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yep. All right, for anyone that may have joined later, please feel free to come off mute, raise your hand, or just drop the question in the QA or the chat, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Can I ask one more question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, like, so I was trying to put, I have a checkbox list, and then, well, no, drop down list, and I was trying to do a static list with like the default, like a static default. But whenever I do default, it also like puts it for output only. I think I put it like a ticket for that question too, but is there any way like you can choose default, but then also it doesn't force it to output only?
Not sure I fully understand. So you have a drop down box. So you want to have a default list in that box. So what's happening for the output?
So for example, I have like a default list and it have laptop and keyboard, and I always want the laptop to be defaulted. But whenever I do that and I choose default, it always like forces it to choose select output only two, and that messes up like my saving options and all that, because then it's like if the user comes back and do save for later and they choose different, like if they choose like laptop or keyboard, it would just not change because it's always saying that output is always there.
So it just keeps that same output.
Yes.
Okay. I think I might need you to share your screen to get a better idea of what you're seeing.
Gosh, I think it doesn't allow us to do that here.
Yeah, I don't know either. Do we do share screens on Lunch and Learns or?
No, unfortunately, the attendees are not able to share their screen.
Okay.
Do you mind repeating the question for me real quick? I'm sorry.
Yes, so I just have like a drop down list with two options, two static items, which is keyboard and monitor. And I always just wanted to have monitor as a default. But whenever I select that on my form, it also like forces the output only option to be selected too. But I don't want that. I don't know if this is like in decisions or it's just like it's always like that.
Yeah, let me pop open a form really quick to test. I'm just not too familiar with the output only. I see it here, output only.
Yeah, and Cameron, I'm kind of doing the same thing on my side. So where my mind went there, Mansoor, I think we were working on that form last week on Thursday, I think. That was with you, correct, Mansoor?
Yes, but it was like
Yeah,
the
okay.
validations.
Yeah, it
was
was a
same.
little bit different. So my first thought kind of went to doing like a mass text box, but that's just going to go ahead and do kind of like a watermark in the background. As far as a default, that's something that I'm kind of trying to go ahead and figure out over here. So Cameron, if you get to it first, awesome. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and share my screen or walk you through it once I get it up. That may be something too, if we go ahead and take off for another time. If anybody else has any questions, please go ahead and let us know in the meantime. But let me go ahead and see if I can work on the background here.
Yes,
Sounds
thank
good.
you, Ashley.
Thank you.
And real quick, Monthor, you're on version 6, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cameron, kind of my thought process going through this is I wonder if this could have been some sort of selective update. The only thing is if we're getting an output of the form of her default, then we would need almost some sort of active form flow going on the form itself, or a data flow that will actually be able to go ahead and update this if they go ahead and choose a different option. Being version 6, I don't know how we could do that without an active form flow. But I wonder if that data flow may be able to do something similar. That's kind of where my thought track is going for you, Cameron.
Yeah, and I think a data flow should be able to do that. I'm more familiar with the data flows more than active form flows. So I think a data flow could accomplish that if we ran it on selection change and just outputted that change. I wouldn't see why it still grabs that default value. So that's interesting, I think. And did you say we have a ticket for this already?
I think I had it like a long time ago. I'm not sure if I deleted it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so what I'm thinking, we can put in a ticket for this, and I'll follow up on that thread with this data flow information, and we can see if that works as a solution. But I'm kind of concerned that is grabbing the default value. So I don't think it should, because you said the users have a save for later button, so they can come back into the flow and make that change. And is it the same form that they're using? I would expect it to grab whatever selected value.
Yes. So they have like a save for later and submit option, and they can, so if they do, for example, if they do save for later and then they come back again, it always defaults it to the same value, whichever it was defaulted to, which is not correct. So if they choose keyboard, then it should stay keyboard.
Oh, okay. So it was just pushing it back to the default after reopening that form.
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm thinking, maybe an input is something's input into that form that's telling it to be that value. And we only want that on the first flow run or form run. So I think it's probably something in your process that we can likely work around, but we would have to kind of see it and dig into it a bit.
Gotcha, because I tried doing that, but as soon as I took off this the default option, it fixed it. So that's what I was wondering, like if that is the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, so I think when we load that form, it's just inputting that default rather than grabbing what that value was. Yeah, I think we should look a little bit deeper into that one. So I'll submit a ticket on your behalf and follow up on that ticket thread. Just make sure I have your email.
So, Mansoor, a quick question, Akshay, aside from decisions. So, when you are setting that default as keyboard, are you doing that on the form or in the flow input?
Oh, just on the form.
Yeah, and a quick fix that
Yeah.
I can think of is instead of doing that on the form, you can rather do it in the flow and have a create option, create data step. So for the first time, if there's no value inside it when the form renders for the first time, it's just going to pick that value, which is keyboard from the flow. But next time when you run it, all the data in the flow will be actually coming from the database where you are storing that form data for a save later button. So when we open that form again, so then it would not go to that create button, which takes keyboard. It'll actually take, let's say if somebody had saved mouse, so it'll actually show mouse there. So that's one fix that I could think of now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Akash.
Yeah, Akshay here. Hey, Cameron. Cool.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'll try doing that because I
Yeah.
remember like in the older versions, I was able to like just like select it and have we do static and it would never force it to output only two. That's like my biggest thing. Like, why does it like makes it default to output only two if you choose a default value?
Yeah, and the reason could be because when the flow goes to that particular step, so it checks any default values that have been set in the form. So it sees that keyboard is the default value which you have set when you were building that form. So it shows up keyboard again. So
Gotcha. I'll try doing the solutions that you guys provided. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
yeah, no worries.
Yes. And also open the ticket just so we can track that and make sure you're good to go.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, yes. All right, I'm not sure if anybody else joined, but for any new folks, please feel free to raise your hand if you have a question or post that question in the Q&A section or the chat, and we'd be happy to help you. All right, since we don't have any questions, we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for participating in today's Lunch and Learn. Feel free to invite your colleagues to our next webinar. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you.